Go on.
Thank you. Good morning or good evening, depending on which part of the world you are. Thank you for this space. I'm going to talk about the myth of La Malinche and how it was conceived and shaped according to the purposes of each author. So first, let's analyze the Malinche paradigm. Since La Malinche was a real person, the origin of the paradigm can be found in the chronicles of the conquest and the controversy surrounding them. Also, the information about Marina's origin and her early years of life, it's not very reliable since the stories told by Bernal Díaz del Castillo and López de Gomara contradict each other. So from this period, the only reliable source of information that we have about her are the letters of Cortés, and he only mentions her twice. So the rest of the chronicles can be only considered as narratives of the myth. Then the myth was resurrected in the early 1800s for the purpose of searching for a national identity that was not attached to the Hispanic heritage. La Malinche was portrayed as the antagonist for siding with the conqueror. She was presented as the Mexican Eve, a woman that was capable of betraying her own kind, and she was, and because of this, it was that her image started to be associated with La Llorona, who also shares the same story of having betrayed her children, or in the case of La Malinche, the Mexican nation, for a man who later abandoned them for other women. Then the counterpart of these figures would be La Virgen de Guadalupe, which is the loving and all-forgiven mother. Then, after the Mexican Revolution, most of the rewritings of the myth from a male's perspective are oriented towards identity formation. The feminine perspectives of the myth deal not only with identity formation, but also with gender relations. Lastly, the Chicana feminist approach of the myth that was presented by Sandra Cisneros not only deals with identity and gender relations, but also includes the Mexican folklore as a vindication of the myth. So, of course, it is almost impossible to talk about La Malinche without mentioning the controversial essay of Octavio Paz, The Labyrinth of Solitude, in which he states that the Mexican identity comes from the rape inflicted on indigenous women, which resulted in the violent origin of a mixed-race nation. He defines La Malinche as La Chingada and the Mexicans as hijos de la chingada. He also states that the verb chingar is a masculine verb, and because of that, the ones that usually assume the role of chingon are males, and that the ones that receive the suffering inflicted by this action are female figures, or as he calls them, chingadas. For Paz, La Malinche represents passiveness, openness, and rape. And the counterpart of this figure would also be La Virgen de Guadalupe, the pure and loving mother, whom Paz also defines as a passive figure. Then these two archetypes of female behavior have defined the pattern of violence inflicted on Mexican women in both reality and fiction. Carlos Fuentes, on the other hand, presents a version of Marina that is not passive at all. She is an outspoken woman who is aware of her value, and she transforms herself into a symbol of power that she obtained through sexuality. One of Fuentes' major contributions to the Malinche paradigm is the premise that it is possible to break free from the pattern of devastation if the archetypes found in the national myths are rejected. Another important topic discussed by Fuentes is Mestizaje, and he represented as an orange tree, which symbolizes the culture that is being created through the act of conquest. It represents the bitterness of the conquest, but also the sweetness that it produces. And what he does is to reinforce the belief that Mexicans are a mestizo breed. Then Sandra Cisneros offers another rewriting of the myth, and other than being a direct response to Paz's misogynistic statements, she also criticizes and rejects the national paradigms that dictate women's role in Mexican and Chicana societies. So Cisneros uses the myth to reformulate identity and gender perspectives. But how does she do that? Well, Never Marry a Mexican tells the story of Clemencia, a Mexican woman that was born and raised in the United States. And Cisneros presents Clemencia as a modern-day Malinche. They both have similar jobs, and they are also in relationships with a married man in a position of power. Also, Cisneros digs a little bit deeper into the perspective of Fuentes about the mestizo race, because Clemencia is twice a mestiza, one for being Mexican and the other one for being in the middle of the Mexican and the American societies. Because of this, of course, Clemencia has to go through the struggle of finding her identity twice. Another parallelism is that both women are in relationships with the roles of chingada and chingon. But Clemencia rejects the passive and the open positions and forces her lover into taking that role. So the first sentence of the quote that we can see on the rectangle number 4 is what Octavio Paz defines as the role of the macho chingon. And the second part of the quote makes clear that the passive and open figure, it's Drew and not Clemencia, which of course, this reverses the roles of chingada and chingon. Once Clemencia has accomplished this, she reinforces her role as chingon by gloating on the shame that she has inflicted her lover. And not being satisfied with that, she claims her role as chingon once more and turns the wives of her lovers into chingadas. She takes advantage of the most vulnerable moment of them, that is when they are given birth, and she does that to show that she's the one in a position of power. Clemencia's rejection of female figures, especially at the moment of motherhood, could be the result of her twisted revenge against her own mother. Clemencia's repudiation of her mother's treason could also signify her rejection for the most common assumption about the myth of La Malinche, in which it is implied that she betrayed her nation, or in the case of Clemencia's mother, her dying husband, for the love of a white man. However, after having broken some of the patterns of the Malinche paradigm, Clemencia finds herself gravitating back towards the figure of La Malinche, and she starts developing maternal instincts. At first, she satisfies this need in a sexual way with the son of Drew, and she calls him mi cariñito and refers to herself as mamita, and in a way she feels responsible for his existence. So Clemencia's maternal feelings reach their highest point when she replaces a wooden babushka doll with a gummy bear, and she takes it with her and she calls it baby, and she finds that touching the baby is rather calming for her. However, these maternal feelings did not last long, and she decides to throw them away. This incident specifically reunites the three motherly figures of Mexican culture in one paragraph. The first one, La Virgen de Guadalupe, as this occurs in Guadalupe Street. The second one, La Llorona, as the image of a mother who drowns her baby in a creek is replicated, and La Malinche, who is embodied by Clemencia. And not only that, but she also rejects the maternity that is associated with the figure of La Malinche, which is the only missing piece to fully break free from the Malinche paradigm. So in conclusion, it is important to keep analyzing the interpretations and reinterpretations of the myth and to value them as a whole. So perhaps Never Marry a Mexican would have not been as complex and as powerful as it is if were not for Paz's misogynistic statements or Fuentes' perspective that is possible to break free from oppressive paradigms. The same way, the essay of Paz would have not been as controversial and fundamental to understanding the myth if were not for writers such as Elena Garro and Sandra Cisneros that challenged and rejected the paradigm that he presented. It is also necessary to keep rewriting the myth, especially with the current violent situation that we as Mexican women have to face every day. And hopefully the next time that the myth is addressed, it will also include the works of female writers from both sides of the border and not only the male national perspectives. And that's it. You can see my references here in case you can take a screenshot and look at them later.
Thank you. Thank you, Roxana. Any questions or comments? No.
Maybe I just want to mention that the myth or the personality of Malinche is very present in Mexican literature and culture, but I think that on the other side of the ocean, we don't have these references. We don't know anything about it. That's why maybe I don't know how much our students understood something or could relate to it. But also, as Linda Saduala mentioned before, also Laura Esquivel has a novel called Malinche, where also Laura Esquivel is interpreting this personality of Malinche.
Thank you.
Thank you, Agata. Thank you, Roxana. And our next participant is Kristiāna Šnore. She will read her work, The Meaning and the Impact of Idols Nowadays.
Is it on full screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay. My name is Kristiāna Šnore. I'm the fourth-year student of study program European Languages and Culture Studies. My topic is the meaning and the impact of idols in 1960s and nowadays culture. Idols have been around a long time ago, and humans have always had the need to follow and look up to someone. It is undeniable that the idols have had an influence on culture back in 1960s, which is still relevant. The question of my research is whether the cultural idols are important in shaping modern culture, and is their influence and presence in society an integral part of a person's cultural life. The aim of my bachelor paper is to research the cultural idol impact in 1960s and to compare its meaning and necessity nowadays. The methods I used during my research was the theoretical literature review, survey, analytical processing, and interpretation of the results. The objectives that I did was I analyzed the definition of the terms idol and idolatry. I studied and characterized the time period of 1960s in the society and culture. I researched and analyzed the most influential idols of that time. As an example that I will highlight was the band The Beatles and each member specifically. I also investigated how these artists became a phenomenon. I researched what was their impact on a different cultural aspects, and by conducting a survey, which is not yet finished, it will be clear if the presence of 1960s idols is felt in modern culture, as well as who are considered today's idols and what is their impact on our culture. The definition of idol. Idol is someone who is admired and respected a lot. Idol is an object of extreme devotion, but the process of admiring something or someone is called idolatry. 60s, the golden era of cultural idols. Here are some of the causes that made idols, like where they came from. It was a post-war period. It was the decade that turned into different revolutions. People had the need for the sense for need of freedom and peace. And even more and more artists became more visible, and people could choose who to become alike and who to follow and who to idolize. The one through my research, it is undeniable that idol of that time was the band Beatles, and I have to highlight them. They made an impact on the culture. They even they created words that have found a place in dictionaries today. A few of them is Beatlemania. It's a noun to describe the frenzy and hysteria that fans exhibited over the Beatles. Extreme enthusiasm. A mop top, it's a noun for a man's hairstyle, the form of a long shaggy bob. Even in Latvian language, there are two slangs that has made into the dictionaries. Beatlene, it's a noun, it's a slim-fitted jumper. Beatles, it is a noun with three meanings. It could mean a member of the band. It could mean simply a musician or a guy with the long hair. They also made an impact on the fashion. Because of them, they started to produce different, like a Beatle boots, John Lennon glasses, tailored collarless tweed suits and ties. And also the look was the Beatle haircut. If you went to cut your hair, you said the Beatle haircut, everything was clear. And also they made an impact on politics through their songs, song lyrics. For example, Back in the USSR, Revolution, and Come Together. Cultural idols nowadays. By conducting a survey, it is possible to discover and characterize who idols are today and how they affect our culture nowadays. My survey consists of 10 questions. Well, people of different nationalities and ages have taken a part in the survey, which will help to understand the cultural differences and perception of idols. I have not summarized all the answers of the survey, but from the overall, I want to highlight few. Today's are politicians, public figures, athletes, and less actors and musicians, so less people we see on the screens. And the influence they have made or impacted people's lifestyles, some values, some new beliefs, and less fashion than it was before in 1960s. But still, this is not my final research. I still want to summarize all the answers and look into what particular persons are influencing our culture today. So in the conclusions, idols are a historical phenomenon. With almost every decade, the world gets to know new people who with their actions or messages influence our culture. And there definitely is a need for change. So it demands new idols who can guide people into creating new cultural ways. And I am eager to summarize the answers of my survey to find out who are those idols for people today, and especially today when the times are changing, everything is going so fast. It is really interesting for me to find out the results of my research and put it all together. And these are some of my sources. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Christiana. Questions for Christiana, please? Actually, I have.
Yes.
Do you have an idol yourself?
Do I have an idol myself? Yes, I have an idol. For a little while back ago, I got interested in modern writers, and one of them is Patti Smith. She's a poet and a singer and songwriter, and I like her way of thinking and her historical way, how she became who she is, and she influences me. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Man ir jautājums.
Yeah.
Ir zināms, ka mode mainās reiz 30 gados, apmēram, tas cikls ir 30-gadīgs. Vai šīs 60. gadu mode arī seko šim cikliskumam, ja tā ir vienkārši nebeidzama un visu laiku klātesoša? Vai par to jūs esat pētījusi kaut ko?
Es teiktu, ka viņa atgriežas, varbūt
Varbūt angliski.
Okay. The question was about the fashion, whether it changes or it comes back. I would say that it comes back, but maybe in some few different shapes, but the forms and the idea is the same, but maybe they use new fabrics or a few little new details, but I think everything comes around and goes around. So basically, yeah, that is why I'm really interested which idols and what impact they have like on today's society. So I want to compare it. Is it similar or is it not?
Paldies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana.
Thank you. Okay, so now we can go to our next participant, and it is Līva Kokareviča with her topic. Līva. Everything's okay?
I think my screen froze.
Just a second. Try again, maybe. Full screen.
Can you see it?
Try full
Yes,
screen.
but full screen, please.
Is it? Okay.
No, not really.
Is it now?
Not yet.
No. Try again.
Now?
Try full screen.
It's not?
No.
How did you do it?
I just shared my screen and I put on the PowerPoint and then full screen.
Is it full screen?
Not yet.
I don't know how to get a full screen. It's full screen for me.
Did you press share screen and then PowerPoint to logo atsevišķo un tad pilnekā?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Signs
try.
the charm.
Easy.
No?
Nope. Lejā tur tā ikoniņa, tā kā glāzīte.
Viņa jau spēja.
Es jau visu laiku viņu spēju.
Sorry, tad vairāk nevarēšu neko. Helēna, where are you? Our IT specialist. We need your help.
You must select to share whole screen,
Oh,
not just
Man bija tā
this window.
problēma. dalīties ar ekrānu, nevis dalīties ar to prezentāciju. Screen.
Tur kaut kas vēl atsevišķi.
Vajadzētu būt vienai atsevišķai pogai screen.
Redzu vienkārši share.
Nu, share screen un tad izvēlēs screen tieši.
Ir?
Yeah, yes, finally.
Okay.
Go on.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Liva Kokorevice. Je suis étudiante en 4e année. J'étudie les langues et cultures européennes et aujourd'hui je veux présenter mon travail, représentation de femmes dans la culture populaire, concours débuté et le film mignon. Les sujets est d'actualité car les médias sont devenus une partie intégrante et inévitable de la vie moderne, de films, des émissions de la télévision, des réseaux sociaux avec ce panneau d'affichage et les médias font partie intégrante de nos vies et leur influence est inévitable. De le plus jeune âge, les femmes voient des images irréalistes et idéalisées de femmes et les médias offrent des sources constantes de comparaison ascendant et établissant une norme à laquelle aspiraient les femmes, impossible à atteindre. Il est important de parler de ces sujets pour qu'on accepte la réalité et que le non-débuté change. Question de recherche, comment les femmes sont-elles représentées dans les cultures populaires, surtout des concours débutés et de films mignons. L'objectif est de décrire l'image des femmes dans les médias modernes, dévoiler les exigences des concours débutés et décortiquer le film mignon, notamment la manière dont les femmes sont représentées, les impacts sur les perceptions de soi et faire de recherche pour découvrir et analyser les opinions des femmes sur la façon dont les concours débutés et médias affectent l'image de soi. Mes tâches est décrire comment les femmes sont représentées dans les médias et réfléchir aux conséquences de l'image avec les clichés sexistes, décrire l'origine, les cibles et l'impact des concours débutés, se focaliser sur la question comment ils influencent la représentation des femmes dans la culture populaire, faire l'analyse du film mignon qui explore la construction de l'identité et de la féminité de Jean Pi, comparer la représentation des femmes dans le concours débuté et dans le film mignon et tirer des conclusions et créer une enquête sur l'effet des médias et des concours débutés sur les femmes et décrire et analyser les résultats de l'enquête. La méthode utilisée est la méthode descriptive d'essai d'articles de recherche et de livres sur la représentation des femmes dans les médias populaires et les concours débutés et l'analyse du contenu film mignon. À ce moment, le travail d'étude se compose de 3 parties et de 3 chapitres. Le premier chapitre donne un aperçu de la manière dont les femmes sont présentées dans les médias en général. Le deuxième chapitre a une introduction au concours débuté dans lequel on explique son origine et on aborde son impact sur la vision des femmes de soi. Et le troisième chapitre est l'analyse du film mignon et de la façon dont les femmes sont représentées dans le concours débuté, quel est l'idéal par rapport à la façon dont elles se sont représentées dans le film. Et le 4e chapitre sera les recherches. Jusqu'à présent, les conclusions sont que les images médiatiques présentent une image irréaliste de l'image corporelle avec des femmes. La publicité s'inspire de l'insécurité des gens pour les convaincre d'acheter un produit. Les adolescents sont les groupes démographiques les plus touchés. Le concours débuté établissant de non-débutés irréalistes pour les femmes et promeut souvent des stéréotypes. Les concours débutés sont introduits au niveau des enfants. Les gens soupçonnent à l'élevage en creveux avec des stéréotypes débutés à un âge extrêmement impressionnable. Le film mignon dépeint les jeunes femmes d'une manière vulgaire en montrant des enfants agissant comme des adultes. Le plan pour le futur, je prévois de créer une enquête destinée aux femmes âgées de 12 à 25 ans. L'enquête sera conçue pour découvrir que ce que les femmes pensent de l'impact des médias et des concours débutés sur leur estime de soi à cet âge. Celles se sont personnellement senties obligées de regarder dans certaines façons et mon objectif, en résumant les résultats, est découvrir comment les résultats de l'enquête se lient à film mignon, quels parallèles peuvent être établis avec les réponses et tirer des conclusions. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you, Liva. Any questions or comments on this topic? Seems no, then we can go further.
All right, so our conference slowly but surely is coming to the end. And if I'm not mistaken, we still have 2 participants. And let me introduce the next participant, Magali Beido Arias. And I'm not going to read her work. Magali, please, stage is all yours. Hola.
I don't see her in our...
Nobody? Let me check participants.
No, she's not.
She's not. Okay, then Christiana, your turn.
Yeah, maybe we can move on to Veronica and then see if Magali is back. Okay, would that work, Agatha? Yeah, okay, then, next participant is Veronika Aizele. So, Veronika, you can start.
Добрый всем, добрый день. Тема моей бакалаврской работы – образ жар-птицы в русской культуре, но в рамках сегодняшней конференции я представлю теоретический материал, посвященный образу жар-птицы в сказке Петра Павловича Ершова «Конек-горбунок», научный руководитель Валентина Владимировна Калинина. Объектом данного исследования является образ птицы как носителя художественной идеи. Предмет исследования – жар-птица в сказке Петра Павловича Ершова «Конек-горбунок». Целью работы является анализ жар-птицы сказки «Конек-горбунок» с точки зрения лингвокультурологии, науки, возникшей в начале XX века и исследующей роль культурных факторов в представлении нации и лингвистические способы создания образа. Соответственно, поставленные цели были выдвинуты и выполнены представленные на слайде задачи. Наиболее важными из них являлись пункты 3, 5, 6 и 7. А также в дипломной работе выдвинута следующая гипотеза. Образ жар-птицы является значимым национально-культурным символом, активно используемым в различных сферах русской культуры, а также узнаваемым и понимаемым носителями данной культуры. Обширная литература по данной теме помогла разработать объемный материал, основанный на 20 литературных наименованиях. Наиболее важными источниками информации были критическая статья Аникина о сказке «Конек-горбунок», авторская биография, составленная Утковым, словарь славянской мифологии Грушко и Медведева, а также толковый словарь живого великорусского языка Владимира Ивановича Даля.
Veronika, vai tev ir prezentācija?
Jā.
Tu nedalies, tu tik ātri sāk runāt.
Jā,
Nepaspēju.
tagad ir, jā,
Jā.
tagad ir.
Tad es turpināšu no tās vietas, kur
Jā, super, visu dzirdējām, tikai es domāju, ir vai nav. Ok, continue.
Итак, перейдем к основным положениям данной работы. В первом разделе я обратилась к смыслу образа жар-птицы в славянской мифологии и в русских народных сказках. Было выявлено следующее. В мифологии птицы имели всегда важное значение и являлись олицетворением добрых и злых сил. Также образы некоторых птиц были заимствованы из других культур. Жар-птица, в свою очередь, это райская бессмертная птица, которая являлась олицетворением стихии огня, грозы славянского бога Перуна. И в русских народных сказках значение жар-птицы расширяется, она становится символом света, добра, богатства, красоты, идеей о светлом будущем. Но в сказочных сюжетах значение птицы остается положительным, но в то же время может несколько меняться роль птицы в ходе сюжета. На основании теоретического материала, посвященному творчеству Петра Павловича Ершова и идеи и сюжеты сказки, было выявлено, что автор перенял сюжеты народных сказок из уст сказочников Сибири, и они послужили основой для создания его собственного произведения. Первыми рецензентами были Александр Сергеевич Пушкин и Василий Андреевич Жуковский, которые высоко оценили произведение, и в 1834 году сказка вышла как самостоятельное издание. Сказка является многослойным произведением, отражающим не только этические и нравственные понятия, а также тему социально-политической ситуации в России в 30-х годах XIX века. Автор также сохранил первоначальный образ жар-птицы, ассоциируя ее именно с солнцем, а не с грозой, и в то же время сохранил связь персонажа с раем. Жар-птица – это сложносоставное слово, состоящее из краткого прилагательного жара существительной птицы, и таким образом краткое прилагательное дает характеристику существительному через понятие цвета и тактильное восприятие. Также в сказке используются разные слои лексики. Слова Ивана, допустим, это просторечные выражения, и Иван иногда использует также демонические образы, и это объясняется как социальным статусом героя, так и восприятием всего неизведанного простым народом, как проявление нечистой силы. И, конечно, стоит добавить, что образ жар-птицы также использовался в сказке. В русских народных сказках жар-птица является стимулятором развития характера героя и катализатором развития сюжета. Название птицы создает целостное представление о персонаже благодаря морфологической структуре слова. А также в переводах данного слова на латышский и английский языки присутствует синонимическая замена, которую можно объяснить попыткой сохранения значений, стилистической окраски и исключением двусмысленности. Преемственность образа в народном и авторском творчестве обуславливает значимость символа в русской культуре и необходимость его рассмотрения в других контекстах, видах и жанрах русской культуры. Поэтому в бакалаврской работе также рассматривается образ жар-птицы в балете, в кинематографе, поэзии, изобразительном искусстве, геральдике, вексикологии. Вексикология – это историческая дисциплина, изучающая историю и формирование флагов и знамен. В практической части исследования был проведен опрос, целью которого является определение уровня узнаваемости и понимания образа носителями русской культуры в Латвии. Количество анкетируемых составляет 169 человек. Респондентам было предложено рассмотреть графическое изображение жар-птицы и соотнести его с вариантом ответа. И результаты показали, что почти 90% респондентов определили образ правильно. В одном из вопросов респондентам было предложено выбрать 5 понятий, которые наиболее ярко описывают жар-птицу, и по итогу можно сделать вывод, что почти все из представленных понятий практически в равной степени отождествляются с образом птицы и одинаково важны. Результаты ответов на вопрос, в каких контекстах вы встречали данного персонажа, показали, что большинство респондентов встречали данного персонажа в русских народных сказках, чем в последующих вопросах объясняется причина распространения данного образа в русской культуре. И результаты ответов на вопрос, считаете ли вы жар-птицу идентификатором русской культуры, 86% ответили, что они согласны с данным утверждением. В результате проделанной работы и проведенного опроса была доказана гипотеза, что действительно образ жар-птицы часто используется в разных жанрах и видах русской культуры, а также является узнаваемым и понимаемым образом для русскоязычных людей, носителей русской культуры. Спасибо за ваше внимание. Я готова ответить на ваши вопросы.
Thank you, Veronica. Anybody? Questions or comments? Seems that no.
Tūliņ būs. Es nevarēju te ekrānu.
Okay, jā.
Veronika, man ir jautājums. Jūs mazliet jau pieskārāties tam, bet vai jūs esat tā kā citu tautu kultūrās arī līdzīgu šo te, kā lai saka, simbolu pētījusi, jeb...
Es mazliet pieskāros, teiksim, Fēniksam, bet šī tēma tik tiešām ir ļoti plaša un ļoti dažādās kultūras jomās tiek izmantots šis simbols, tāpēc mans darbs vairāk ir pievērsts tam, lai izsakotu, kāda ir nozīme, kā šī nozīme mainās līdz ar laiku gaitu dažādās sfērās, dažādos gadsimtos, un tas, protams, aiziet arī līdz mūsdienām, un tu šo tēmu skatīt vēl plašāk, bet, tomēr diplomu darbu robežās es varēju apskatīt tikai šajā.
Labi, paldies. Vai ir iespējams, ka jūs burtiski 5 teikumos angliski pastāstiet pārējiem klausītājiem, par ko jūs rakstījāt?
Es mazliet neesmu gatava, bet es centīšos. My bachelor paper is about the firebird, which is a bright symbol of Russian culture. It is used in different spheres, such as fairy tales, in mythology, also in ballet, in films. And the aim of my bachelor work is to follow, is it an important national symbol which appears in these spheres, and also do people recognize them and understand that it's right. So in the first part of my work, I made a literature research of sources where this symbol is mentioned and what was the meaning of it. In the second part, I tried to understand what was the idea of the author of the fairy tale by Piotr Yershov's The Little Ham-Backed Horse. There is this book, and understand the idea and the plot of this work. In the third part, I tried to make the research of other spheres of Russian culture, because yes, it's very large culture. So in the borders of my bachelor work, I looked at through the ballet, through the cinema, and so on. And in the fourth part, I made research through the survey. And when I collected all the answers of people, I understand that my hypothesis, which was formed, is right. So it is really an important national symbol, and it's really it is right understood by the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Yeah. Is the participant back, which we missed?
Magali, is Magali somewhere? Pasniedzēja Babina, varbūt jūs zinat kaut ko par...
Viņa čatā ir ierakstījusi, ka viņa nebija, ka viņa nav apstiprinājusi savu
jā, redzu tagad, jā, čatā, jā.
Viņa apstiprinājusi.
Fernando?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have the mask because I'm taking my son to the kinder, but I'm following the conferences either way. I want to apologize because I think that Magali probably didn't notice the change of the schedule. I explained to them that you guys in Latvia had already changed to the summer time, and we haven't, and then she probably didn't notice that difference of an hour. I already asked the coordinator of the French program to get in touch with her as soon as possible to see if she saw that email that I sent them yesterday. So let's see if she can still make it, all right? But I want to apologize for you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. She probably wasn't checking the emails, and we don't have I don't have a number, a cell phone number for just to call her, okay? But I keep trying to get her into the conferences. Sorry again.
No, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Even we do not get along with this summertime, wintertime, and it's confusing for us as well. Every year the same problem.
Yeah, we had calculated the 8 hours, which is the regular difference. But the thing is that we're changing the summer time until this Sunday. So we're about to change it. So it's 9 hours, not 8, which is regularly the difference. It was just a few days. It's too bad, but thank you very much for your comprehension, your understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we might use this time for some discussions or some comments or anything.
I have a question to Roxana and Jose Antonio. You are master students or still undergraduate or PhD students? Which degree is of your investigation you have?
So this was my thesis dissertation for undergraduate studies. I presented it last year, and I'm trying to get into master's now, but I'm not currently doing my master's right now.
And
Yeah.
what is your intention for your master thesis? You already know you will continue the topic, or you have other ideas?
It's a little bit similar. So I have 2 research projects at the moment. So one is it's about the influence of Spain in literature written by Mexicans living in the United States. And also another one, it's a comparison between Asian literature, Japanese literature, and Northern American literature and Latin American literature, because I have found that they have a lot of similarities. So I'm kind of working on that, but independently, not with a university at the moment.
Very interesting. So really engagement and interest in the topics. Yeah, maybe I want to comment to our Latvian colleague. What I noticed that here in Mexico, there is a great interest in Japanese culture and language, and this is in a lot of language schools. And even I have met some random people who say, oh yeah, I'm willing to go to Japan. I'm studying since a lot of years Japanese. So there is quite, like I see it's a big topic, Japanese culture and language here in Mexico. That was surprising for me. I didn't expect it. And Jose Antonio, what are your intentions in the future? He's not here.
I don't know if Jose Antonio is here, probably not. Well, I will explain a little bit about our BA. It's a BA undergraduate program where we, 80% of our students, like Jose Antonio, are people who are already in the field of teaching English, but they don't have a degree. So people who work, probably Jose Antonio right now is teaching. People who already have a job, a family, and things like that, they enroll at our program. That's the reason it's 100% virtual program, and they need the degree. That's their need. And so that's Jose Antonio just presented his research project last week. He got his degree last week or 15 days ago. No, I think it was last week. Yeah, he has just finished his BA. We said, okay, how about participating in Lithuania University? And he said, okay, I would like to do it. And that's the reason.
If I'm allowed, I'd like to add a couple of comments to what my colleagues have said about our students participating. Well, yeah, as you can see, they're really mature. They're really capable in doing research, and well, we wanted to show you their works because they're worthwhile, worth it to see, and as Roxana mentioned, she has plans to continue with this. So you probably could, we could do something all together with her. And as for Jose Antonio, as Professor Carlos Núñez mentioned, their maturity also is because they are students that are, just getting the degree that they need, but they already teachers. But either way, they're showing a really high level of doing research. That's why we have mentioned in this meeting that we had a couple of days ago with Agatha and Cynthia that we are really interested in collaborating all together with you guys because I think that we can do great things all together, the two institutions. And well, I like to say that I haven't got any notice from any word from Magali, so I apologize again. I don't know what happened, but well, I'm so sorry. I feel bad because of that, but well, thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Well, Agatha mentioned something about Japanese thing. I think I don't know if in Latvia anime has impact in Latvia, but in Mexico, anime has a lot of impact among teenagers nowadays. There is an anime festival at cinema, and it's very popular. It's increasing its popularity. So I think that's the reason in many parts of Mexico, they want to study Japanese. And also in the center part of the country, there is a Nissan factory. So there sometimes people who study at School of Languages and because they like anime, and then they go to work there because they know Japanese, because they took these certifications, the N1, N2, N3, I can remember the name of those certifications of Japanese certifications levels, but maybe that's one of the reasons of this interest.
So it is very interdisciplinary, anime, language, and then engineering, or mechanics.
Yeah. Actually, I studied Japanese when I was a student. They were very good, my classmates. They were better at Japanese than in English. I was really bad. I wanted to focus on English, but taking another language was compulsory at those times when I was a student. I saw that they were eager to learn Japanese, to travel to Japan. They go to a competition into Mexico City they perform a speech in Japanese. I went to one of them to see my classmates, and it was impressive.
Jose, you raised your hand.
Has something to say, yeah.
Yeah, well, now that we're using this time to ask questions or make comments, I'd like to ask Cristiana about her survey, because I am really interested in cultural consumption. I did my PhD thesis on cultural consumption with students from Universidad Verakrusana. And I am interested in how, I'd like to know more about your survey, because I think that, you know, trying to find out about the idols, the heroes of nowadays, it is also interesting to know if there's an influence by if the cultural capital, using Bourdieu's theory, if the cultural capital has to do with the decision, or well, not the decision, but the choices that we make towards the people that we admire, because definitely has to do with our position in the social interaction, in the social world.
Yeah.
So what criteria that you use to pick your informants, your population, to run the survey? Thank you.
Well, I chose different age groups firstly, and also a different nationalities, just to compare. I have participants from England. I have participants from Latvia, but in Latvia we also have Russian-speaking Russian families and Latvian families, and also a few in America and Germany. So, and also I will when it's all gonna be done, I want to research, and not to research, but to compare based on the ages. I want to see if somebody from 60s still has an influence on like not teens, but young people today. So I'm also very interested in the results. So it is not yet completed, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really interested in knowing your results, so we'll keep in touch with Agatha and Cynthia.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna tell her the result. Yeah.
Thanks.
I just want to comment on the Japanese topic, because we had a student who graduated a year ago. She was a full-time student from Azerbaijan who chose to study in our university in Liepāja. And her final thesis was about, I don't remember precisely the topic, but it was related to the suicidal tendencies of Japanese youth in Japan, and what are those influences, and what kind of anxieties the Japanese youngsters are facing because of the cultural taboos. And it was super interesting topic, but it was totally out of topic of European studies, because sometimes we forget that our study program, whatever we research, has to have some kind of connection with European languages and culture. Like in case of, for example, studying Mexican authors, at least there is a comparative study between the language issues in translation from Spanish to Latvian. There should be some connection. And there in that work, it was very, very interesting from the social cultural point of view, but it didn't contribute anything for our academic heritage. Yeah, but yeah, Japan is something, maybe we should add it to Europe, or I don't know. Just laughing.
Okay, thank you, Agata. Anybody else?
I think we had a really productive afternoon, and I am sure that some of us got some new perspectives, or maybe some of us got interested in other topics, either outside of our own topics we talked about. Yes, I think we did well. Thank you, all the participants and everybody.
Atvainojos, Roxana ir pacēlusi roku.
Oh, Roxana, do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment about what we were discussing about Japan. It's the soft colonization power that we get interested in their culture because of anime, manga, literature. And I wanted to ask about the idol conception of that, because at first we had this influence, as you mentioned, from the Beatles and bands from the UK and then Northern American bands. And now we have this a lot of culture from K-pop and Korean idols and bands. What do you think about the tendencies from other countries to start gaining soft colonization power through idols?
Yeah, it is undeniable that that idols are also from Japan today. They are here in Europe, and the impact is growing, especially in between younger generations. They already are eager to follow those idols from those different from Japan, for example, and they merge into our culture. And it is only the question of time that it will be more visible, and we gonna hear and see more of that, because at the moment maybe I'm not in the circle of those people, so it is a bit I'm not that educated on them, but I think it's going to grow. The influence and the impact it's going to be undeniable in our society in here.
Thank you, Christiana. I think considering the great interest about Japan, we should rename our Faculty of Humanities, and the group would be not European Languages and Culture, but European Languages and Japanese Culture Studies. Just a joke. Anyways, I think we fit in perfectly with time frame. And if there is no more, anybody doesn't have any questions, so we could say big thanks to each and every one of you, all our participants. We all learned something new and something interesting from today's readings. And I think the most important thing is, like I think Agata mentioned in the very beginning, that like cooperation and connections, these international connections are very important. And this is the first time in my experience that so many foreign students, and wishing all you strength, good health, of course, energy to finish the semester. And good luck at your whatever you're defending in June or end of May, or good luck and thank you.
Thank you so much for this invitation.
Thank you very much, and we will be eager and willing to have you in our Foro Internacional de Lenguas Maternas por el Mundo, which we already agreed that you will be our important participants of this international forum that we hold by the end of May, the beginning of June. We will keep in touch, and we definitely like to have a presentation from you guys, but also a workshop in your mother tongue, definitely. Looking forward to having you in our forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you. So I think that's it for today. Have a great evening or have a great day for everybody. Enjoy, and see you soon, don't we?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.